Alright guys, welcome to the Ocean One channel. I want to do a quick video over is Fisker Stock a buy? Yes or no? And before we get into this, I'm going to read my YouTube disclaimers to keep me out of trouble. None of my statements or content constitute professional advice. Viewers that follow any advice, instructions, or suggestions do so at their own risk. So I'm speaking for myself. You will have to decide for yourself what is right for you. Okay, we finally have what we've been looking for, and we have a conference call coming up on the 29th, this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And some people call them earnings report. I tend to call them conference calls because that's really what I look forward to is the talking and the conference. I'm going to propose my question this way. Is Fisker stock a buy? Yes or no? Now, before I go any further, I want to let everyone know that I am heavily invested in Fisker. But that doesn't stop me from being objective. Let's look at some of the facts. And I've got some facts up here behind my screen. I did quick Google searches on these, and some of them I read straight from the report. Some I simply went to Google. You can fact check me on any of this, but I'm kind of a rounder anyway. I tend to round things up or down or, whatever, sideways if there is such a thing. I'm not going to compare Tesla. I don't think Tesla is a good comparison for Fisker at the moment. It's too established. It's too well known. So I'm going to leave it out. I'm also not going to use any Chinese companies. I don't think any Chinese companies like Build Your Dreams, Neo, any of those would be good comps for an American company currently. Once we get past that though, I'm going to scroll down here on my screen a little bit, and I want to run some numbers by you before, I really talk too much about Fisker. So here's my Rivian numbers. Rivian has a market cap of roughly $10 billion. Depending on which quarter you use, Rivian is losing roughly $30,000 per vehicle sold. That's pretty bad. Now, Rivian does have a fairly strong balance sheet, though. They have roughly $9 billion in liquidity. Rivian had $1.3 billion in revenue in Q4, but is losing about $30,000 per vehicle sold. And here's the interesting thing. Rivian still has a market cap of roughly $10 billion. So even with those numbers, Rivian still has a fairly strong market cap. Now, of course, they're using some of their cash for that. But when you look at what they're losing per vehicle, that's pretty ugly. And Rivian has taken a beating just in the last couple days after they reported Q4. Now, Lucid is, I find Lucid a good comp, even though, they're building cars that pretty much the average person would never even consider. But Lucid has a market cap of roughly $7 billion. Lucid is losing, depending on where you look, okay, roughly about $200,000 per car. That is a staggering figure that they're losing per car. Lucid has roughly about $4.7 billion in liquidity or cash, however you want to word that. And Lucid brought in about $157 million in Q4, I believe it was, and is losing roughly $200,000 per car. And Lucid still has a market cap of $7 billion. If you look at Rivian and you look at Lucid, you wonder why Fisker is, today I think we closed roughly at 60 cents. So now let's look at Fisker. Before we look at Fisker, I think it's important to recognize that some of these numbers can be interpreted in different ways. Because, these companies, they're trying to scale. So, you've got money thrown in there for scaling and inefficiencies and things like that. But the bottom line is Rivian and Lucid are losing money hand over fist. There's no getting around that. They are losing staggering sums of money per vehicle sold. So the question becomes, can Fisker do much better being asset light? Well, let's look at Fisker numbers. Fisker currently has a market cap, depending on where you're looking, between about $315 to $322 million. Of course, that's based on the outstanding share count. We don't know for sure exactly how many shares are out at the moment until, we get fully counted dilution in there. But if my numbers are right, as of September the 30th, Fisker had roughly $600 million in cash equivalents. Now, I'm having to use Q3 numbers here, of course, because Fisker hasn't reported. Now, if my math is right, and I have backtracked the numbers, and my estimates are right, then Fisker is going to report roughly $230 million in Q4. And I have that based on 3,792 oceans. Now, what I'm doing is I'm backing out everything here, and I'm coming up with 3,792 oceans will have been sold for Q4. That's what I expect us to report. So I expect that to be right around $230 million. And, we can use different numbers. You could use 59,000, 60,000, 61,000, 62,000 ASP, average sale price. But I think that's about where Fisker is going to come in. Sales only. $230 million. The next thing I want to talk about is possible ZEV credits. Fisker may be selling ZEV credits. They also may have gotten the VAT. Now, the VAT is the value added tax, that money we're going to get back from Europe, and we haven't gotten that back yet. We've been waiting on that a couple quarters, and that is roughly $50 million. When you take that into consideration, Fisker's market cap being roughly $315 million, and we're going to bring in, from revenue only, probably $230 million. Why is our market cap only $300 million? Let's just say $300 million. How do you come up with a market cap of $300 million when you are bringing in $230 million per quarter going forward, every quarter, and growing most likely? Let's see if we can kind of make some sense of this. Walk you through this with my notes. Fisker produced 4,725 oceans in Q3 and delivered 1,097. That means that Fisker had roughly, I like to round, roughly 3,500 units that they had to put on the books in Q3 for production. And that's why Q3 numbers did not look very impressive, because we had only delivered, where were my numbers here on what we delivered? 1,097. We produced 4,725. We only delivered 1,097. And that's through the whole Odessa screw up, and Fisker ended up admitting that things were going too slow, and now we're going to the dealers. So Fisker had almost $72 million in revenue in Q3 compared to $825,000 in Q2, and they spent roughly $338 million in Q3. That sounds pretty bad. In a lot of ways, I think that puts you right up there with Lucid and Rivian, until you realize that they had banked roughly, 3,600 oceans in inventory, so we had to put those on the books. Now, is this making any sense? Well, it is to me. When you look at these numbers, if we are delivering, and I think that's the most important thing here, are we delivering? And what does our demand look like? To me, it looks like Fisker is just extremely undervalued by a wide margin when you compare it to its peers. Now, currently, I consider Lucid and Rivian its closest peers because technically they are American companies, and I'm not going to compare it to anything else. So if my numbers are right, Fisker will report almost as much in revenue as their entire market cap. How will the market react to this? Well, you never know with Wall Street. I think the street is smart enough to be able to do what I've done. And, they're going to be able to calculate how many oceans Fisker has sold, just like I have done in Q4. The real question is, did we sell any ZEV credits? Fisker's been talking about that for a while. Did we do that? Another real question is, did we get the VAT? Did the $50 million come in? How many dealers have signed on? I think that's hugely important to know how many dealers have signed on. Now, it's important to not think of a dealer as one location. A dealer could be 5 locations, 10 locations, 15 locations, okay? We need to keep proper perspective about that. Let's see what else here. Do we have a concrete partner for the Alaska? That is still a question mark. Do we have a concrete partner for the Pear? Now, I know everybody thinks it's Foxconn, and some people have written Foxconn off. I've not, but it's hard to depend on Foxconn at the moment because of the court case with Lordstown. Everything keeps getting dragged out and backed up. It would really be nice for Fisker to come out and say, hey, yes, they are our guys. We've got it worked out. We've signed it, stamp of approval. And more than anything else, what does demand look like in Q1? I think I've got the numbers nailed for Q4. But what does demand look like in Q1? I think that's a hugely important number that will drive the stock forward if those numbers look pretty good. Now, we could estimate those numbers, and I kind of thought about doing that. What I would kind of like to see is just a ballpark number, is that Fisker can project that they can deliver around 5,000 Oceans in Q1. I think if they can say, hey, yes, we can do that, we will do that with a high degree of certainty, I think that would be enough to start the stock on a pretty good run because, we're bare bones, 300 million market cap. We're going to have probably $230 million in revenue. From my opinion, we are a screaming buy right now. So if Q1 deliveries are not stagnant, I think that's what will propel the stock going forward. And I think Q1 and Q2, more than ever, are hugely important for us with our dealer transitions. Now, I think a lot of people in the street would give Fisker some slack moving toward the dealers. But when Fisker says, hey, we've got 100 interested, we've got 120 interested, we've got 150 interested, and then they sign 3, I think that makes Fisker look really stupid. So I think Fisker needs to be on the ball explaining how many have signed up, how many locations that will serve, and approximately how many Oceans they will be able to deliver to them in a timely manner and beat guidance for a change. Under promise, over deliver. I can't say that enough. Under promise, Fisker. Over deliver, Fisker. So far, Fisker's done just the opposite. They've overpromised and under-delivered. And you see what that's done to the share price. We have got the smack put on us. As the old expression goes, a can has been opened up on us. And with just a couple notes, I don't want this video to be terribly long. We're going to find all this out in just a couple days. I'm very much looking forward to Thursday, and I do plan on doing a video sometime Thursday night after I've had time to listen to the call and absorb my thoughts, and then do something similar to this Thursday night. One thing, I've got a few notes here I want to read from. One thing Fisker could really benefit from is a dedicated COO. Now, it does look very much like Geeta is no longer in the head role of being the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. She wasn't listed on the last press release as such. She was listed as the CFO, but she wasn't listed as the COO. So I'm thinking there are some changes there, and we are going to get a dedicated COO, which, maybe we find that out on the conference call. Oh man, I would welcome that with open arms. If that's true, I hope that is a very talented person that really, does well for Fisker. All right, guys, looking forward to what Thursday brings. I started by asking, is Fisker stock a buy? Yes or no? Quite honestly, you have to decide that for yourself. You can listen to me, but at the end of the day, that's on you. You have to decide if it's a buy. I'll say this, though. I will be adding shares going into earnings. I've been adding every week for a very, very long time. Now, I've been trying to take advantage of being so low, but, I'm down so much on the stock currently. You know, it's hard to find the extra money, you know, to really, you know, double your shares, triple your shares, you know, things like that. It's been pretty brutal being a Fisker investor, but I think the tide is turning. And if the dealer networks work out, I think we're all going to be wishing that we had purchased more while the share price was so low, as long as Fisker executes. Now, if Fisker don't execute, you know, hey, it ain't going to work out. It will not. But I do believe Fisker is making the right choices and the right decisions to play out very well. And only time will tell. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And if you're liking my content, please like my video and please subscribe. I'm just trying to grow my channel and get accurate information out about Fisker and the Fisker Ocean. I tend to do way more videos on the Fisker Ocean, but I did ask the Stock Twits community today, actually, if they would be interested in me doing, you know, more on the financial side. And overwhelmingly, they said yes. So I am going to start doing more of these. I don't know how many I will do. I will probably do at least 1 or 2 per quarter. But right now, you know, I'm just trying to get started. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and until next time. And really looking forward to this Thursday. And hopefully Fisker brings it. Thanks for watching.